Sanctuary Court Services, Part 5, compiled by Shirley Jean Street and read by Wayne T. Street. The 12 stones were piled up on the banks of Jordan as a sign to attract the attention of the children, so that in answer to their question, "What do these stones mean?" they might be taught of the time when God stayed the floods of Jordan before the host of Israel. Joshua chapter 4, verses 1 to 7. If the curiosity of the child is aroused and he himself makes the inquiry, the lesson is more forcibly impressed upon his mind. It would seem that for this reason, God had the ashes of the sacrifice at first placed on the east of the altar, where they would be so conspicuous that every child entering the court could not fail to see and ask, "What do you mean by these ashes?" Then he would be taught by the parent that wonderful truth that all sin would be finally burned to ashes in the fires of the last day. Malachi 4, verses 1 to 3. As the children went outside the camp with their parents, their attention would be attracted by the unusual sight of ashes being placed in a perfectly clean place. And in reply to their questions, the beautiful lesson of the new earth, which will come forth from the fires that destroy the last trace of sin, would be impressed upon their young minds. By the ashes and the blood at the base of the altar in the typical services of the court, the purifying of this earth from sin was kept before the minds of Israel. While the congregation of Israel could gather in the court, only the priests were allowed to perform the work at the altar. Numbers 18, verses 2 to 7. The Levites were given charge of the sanctuary, but they could not perform the service of the altar, for that typified work which none but Christ could do. He alone can destroy sin. The laver was between the brazen altar and the door of the sanctuary. The laver and its base were both of brass. Water was kept in them for the priests to wash both their hands and their feet before they entered the sanctuary to perform any service. They were also required to wash both hands and feet before they went near the altar to minister, to burn offerings made by fire unto the Lord. Death was the penalty for performing service at the altar or within the tabernacle without first washing in the laver. Exodus 30, verses 17 to 21. As the people in the court beheld the priests wash in the water before they performed the work of the holy office, surely this taught them the truth that Christ gave to Nicodemus. Except a man be born of water and of the Spirit, he cannot enter into the kingdom of God. John 3, verse 5, Titus 3, verse 5, and Ephesians 5, verse 26. Now we have the type and the antitype. Exodus 27, verses 9 to 18. There was a court surrounding the tabernacle in which the offerings were slain. John 12, verses 31 to 33. The great antitypical offering was slain in the earth. Leviticus 4, 14, 15, 24, and verse 29, and also Leviticus 24, verse 5. The ashes from the altar were placed in a clean place. Malachi 4, verses 1 to 3. The ashes of the wicked will be left on the clean earth. Leviticus 6, verse 10. The priest was attired in priestly garments when he placed the ashes by the altar. Hebrews 2, verse 17. Christ is high priest to make reconciliation for the sins of the people. Leviticus 6, verse 11. When the priest carried the ashes outside the camp to a clean place, he laid aside his priestly robes and put on other garments. Revelation 19, verses 14 to 16. When Christ comes to the earth to destroy sin and sinners, he changes his priestly garments for those of a king.